with some Workshop Wednesday, which for some reason is shaking like a leaf. Ah, 1 second. Camera is, I think it's better. Shaking a little less than it was before. Yeah, that's more locked down. Sorry about that. Let's do this. Okay. So yeah, it's time for some painting. Some mini painting. And actually, as I was pulling these off of my shelf, one of them fell down and I broke the arm off one of my centaurs. So I'm going to fix that right now with some super glue. This is actually not hard to do with this particular mini. I had some issues getting these to stick in. So we're going to go ahead and fix that now. Punch that in. Got a fair amount of glue on that, actually. Okay. Can I make use of that glue? I can. Some of that glue off of there. And then squirt some glue into that hole. Yeah. Come on. There's a lot of air in these particular... There we go. And then put that there. It doesn't actually go in very well. But I believe if I just put it next to there, there's enough glue to hold it in place. And I always worry that I'm going to glue my fingers to the object. But hasn't happened yet. So there we have the thing. Yep, these are all 3D printed. Put that off to the side. So I have here a GIF. This is a hippo person, a hippo guy dressed in sort of 19th century British regalia with a musket, a hand musket. They're famous from the Spelljammer setting, and I really like this guy. I'll probably print off a few more of these. I just really enjoy them, and we'll see where that goes. Actually, I don't need them anymore. I think I just realized I made use of all my Spelljammer stuff. Oh well, but I think these guys are fun, so I'll paint him up. And I have a bunch more centaurs here. I have this guy, who is my version of a particular creature. It's sort of this sentinel that goes through the multiverse and enforces contracts. The little disc on his chest is a record of a contract, and if you violate one of these contracts, it shows up and beats you up, and potentially takes you back to this plane of law, and you're put on trial, and bad things will happen to you. So these sort of multi-planar contracts are enforced by these guys, and they're big. So here's a regular mini, and there's one of these guys. So you don't want to mess with him. And I got this. Whoa. Again, this mini who's just a guy with some swords. And I'll go ahead and just print him out as a test. And so I'll go ahead and paint him up. All right, so these centaurs, I have a white, 2 browns, a black, and then the gray over here that's still drying. One thing I realized upon looking at art of centaurs is that normally their torsos are a flesh color. Obviously, it can vary a lot. And then their bodies, the actual horse part, is a different color. And that kind of explained, I was like, these just don't feel right. Why is that? So that makes sense. Also, this particular 3D print, and we'll try the brown one, so it'll probably show up better. They have these bands you can see on their waists that go around like that. I don't really know what the point of that is. Is that a thing? Yeah, that's actually really funny. So there's actually, and I think that is, let me just check. Yeah, so there's a little like loincloth on the front of these guys. Can you see that? This loincloth there? Which is kind of silly because the stuff that is covered by a loincloth on a centaur is not up here, it's back here. Which these are not anatomically correct. But I do not understand why there's that there. But there is some armor, so maybe that's meant to be like leather armor or something covering the front there. But why would you have leather armor, there on this sort of crotch region and not on your chest? So that's bizarre. And they also have a saddle, actually, which is, again, kind of a weird thing. Why you put a saddle on a centaur. But, oh well. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up, let me cap the glue so it doesn't get dried. Whoopsie. Hey, Dropkicks. So I'm going to mix up some fleshy colors and give each of these guys at least a coat of a fleshy color. And I'll give a different shade of skin tone to each one of them. And I'll probably use like a darker brown skin tone on some of the lighter ones and lighter skin tones on the darker ones, just for contrast. And then I'll probably add some variation here. So I want this, the white horse to have maybe some spots, something along those lines. I've already added a little bit of, I dry brushed a little bit of gray into the tail and to the bottom of the feet. Don't know if you can see that. But the hooves have a little bit of gray brushed in just for some detail. So again, main thing there is just get the torsos, give them a color, and then I'll figure out what I want on him. Obviously, he's pretty armored, so I'll probably add some kind of metal. I actually have both metal paints and Rub and Buff, which is this special material that you literally rub on and creates this metallic finish to it. Like, I really like how these metallic paints look, but that just makes it look a little bit more metallic-y, a little more shiny. It's actually interesting. It's not so much shiny as in bright. It's shiny as in kind of a buffed metal. So shiny as in, what's a good example? Think of like an old pocket watch, right? Which has that beautiful patina. With gluing felt at the bottom would be a good idea. That's not a bad idea, actually. I mean, realistically, you don't have to worry about scratching anything up. But that would provide some nice. It wouldn't slide around as much. So I will think about that. You can buy those little furniture moving discs, the little felt discs, and use those. But I would probably. I know I have some old sweatpants. I can just cut discs out of the sweatpants and glue that to the bottom. They're basically felt, or a felt-like material. So we'll see. I have a black Rub and Buff. That's interesting. That would be quite interesting on this guy, giving him like black armor. I have to think about that. All right, but now, before I get into that, let me create a flesh-colored. So I'm going to grab a little glass bowl there. Now, flesh is a little complicated, because you want a bunch of different colors in there, actually. Oops, not white. Oh, I might need some white. And then where's my... There we are. There are my craft sticks. This bag came with 150 craft sticks. I've been using them only for painting. As you can see, I've gone through a lot of them. But yeah, felt on the bottom is definitely a reasonable idea. So for my skin tone, I'm going to start with this medium brown, this chocolate colored, sort of a milk chocolate covered color. I'm going to throw some of that in there, maybe a little bit more of this brown. You see that? Yeah. There's some brown, and I'm going to add some yellow. Can we use, is there any on the bottom? No, yeah, that's good. I'll add some yellow. And mix that in and see what we get. Oh yeah, I forgot. Dark colors eat up light colors, so that didn't really, give it a much lighter color. It's not a bad skin tone though. That light skin tone. I might, instead of yellow, do I want more yellow in there? Let me add some white to that, I think. Yes, these are all acrylic craft store paints. They're actually from Target. Just grab some from there. I think they're $3 per tub. I've looked into this a little bit, and from what I've read of people online, they're like, you know what? You can really go crazy with whatever you want in terms of different brands of paint, but ultimately it's voodoo. Some people will swear by this brand and swear by another brand, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we're getting this nice sort of medium brown color. That's a good skin tone to start with. Again, I'm going to kind of try for a variety of skin tones here, some darker, some lighter. Don't want to make them all, Caucasian or whatever. So let's just grab, I think I'm going to go with sort of this brush, so it's fairly small, but not the smallest you can possibly get. And I'm going to start with the white. I'm going to give him this. I might give might lighten that up and give the black centaur that as well. So let's move that a little bit. You sure enough have a motorcycle out there. Boy, I can sure tell that. So I'm just going to slap some of that brown paint all over. And so this will be a base, so I will basically, use this for him, and then modify the color, use that color for the next mini, modify that, use it for the next mini. So there's a lot of paint in this bowl, but I'll end up using a lot of it for each variation on the mini. You may notice the hand position. The way these are printed, you have a sort of open hand here, and then a closed hand here. Oops, sort of a closed fist, and that is to hold like a spear. And you can actually 3D print a spear that comes along with it. I have not done that, partly because I don't expect to have all these guys armed, but also because it's very much optional. Like that just really doesn't matter. I can always print up the spears or make up something. I'm not convinced that the spears are actually going to print well because they're these long, thin objects, and printers often have some issues with those. So that's not a big deal. And again, there's nothing wrong with fielding a mini that doesn't have a weapon and just saying, oh yeah, they're wielding this thing. Oops, got a little bit on the haunches there. Just rub a little bit of that off. Okay, barely noticeable. All right, now these are glued on. I think I'm just going to go ahead and go down to the bottom of the thing. So these 3D print in basically 4 pieces. Each arm, the torso, and then the main body, which means you have this seam down here. And if I were a better model maker, I would take some little some clay and push that in there in these spaces. I've not done that with this one. Maybe someday. But for now, I'm just going to stick with that. All right, so we've got this young feller now has his upper body in that color, so it's looking a little better. All right, then we're going to move on. So we're going to move on to the brown ones. And again, I think I want to light. Actually, no, we'll go on to the black one again. For that person, I think I'll add some white. Maybe some yellow. No, white. I need a fair amount of white to really counteract that darker color. So yeah, that's definitely thing. And I'm actually going to add some red. Make it a little slightly ruddier. See what that does. This gets back to my principle that if you're going to mix your own paints anyway, why make everything the same color? Why not give everyone their own distinct skin tone? Need more. Let me just go ahead and pull all the sticks out of here. That's going to be easier. So we're going to add some red to this. And again, as we've learned, as I'm trying to remind myself, dark colors tend to overwhelm. So I'm not going to add too much, but hopefully just a little bit of red, once that actually incorporates in, will give it an interesting tinge. Nothing really exciting there, but it's definitely looks different. I think, yeah, let's add some yellow, just to play around with that. See if that gives us an interesting variation. Is that a lot of yellow? We'll move a little yellow. Okay. Come on. Oh, I'm afraid that yellow is dried. It was kind of on the side. So yeah, it's not really incorporating well. Okay. So I think, yeah, it's pretty close to that, but I think it's different enough that I can live with that as a color. So we're going to use that. I'm going to reuse the same brush. I'll brush off some of the paint there. Can you? Okay, yeah. And then we will start on him, who's not going to show up very well on the camera, I know. That black just does not. Usually very unhappy. Ooh, so the black here tends to show up a lot. So I might have an interesting issue here where I'm going to need to paint him twice. Give him 2 coats of this, which means I can't just rush off to the next centaur. Okay, that's worth thinking about. And the more I think about it, the more I might try doing some clay, some Sculpey here. You know, the more I think about it, the more like, why not? Why not try that? Excuse me. Just fill up that thing. Fill up that space. The gap. That's an option. Just get that paint in there. Yeah. Yeah, I think this will be a nice skin tone. And I'm kind of slapping it on because again, it's that black is coming through a lot. So what I might do here is fill him in and then let it sit for a few minutes while I try to add some clay to the others and then come back and give this guy a second coat once it's had a chance to dry a bit. Because I don't think there's more or less any way for me to, you know, apply this thickly enough but also evenly enough, considering the how that black is coming through. These paints just aren't that thick, and that's where you can kind of get crazy about with people about, oh well, this acrylic is better because it's a little more thin, a little more thick. So I think I'll do it. So let me grab some clay from the other room. I'll be back in about 60 seconds. Okay. So obviously this hasn't dried yet, or this won't have a chance to dry before I actually put it on. So we'll be painting on wet clay, which is not ideal, but we'll live with it. This is just normal Fimo clay-like substance. It's white, but we're going to paint over it, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to take him. Actually, that seems pretty good. I'm not worried about that seam. That get stuck on there. Ooh, must have been a little bit of glue there. Huh. How are we doing there? That's actually not bad. I could get a bit in. Yeah. See if I can get a bit in between. This needs very tiny bits of clay. But I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. And just squeeze some clay there. See if I can grab hunks. I'm just going to push it in. I actually have some toothpicks here I can use. And obviously this would be even easier if I didn't have the arms on already. But I'm just going to press that in. Maybe slice some off. Slice some off. And maybe someday I'll get good enough that I can use this to create, you know, little accessories, little bags and such. Okay, so I'm just going to press more of this in around that seam. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get something that seems right, and I probably should not have open cans of paint while I have little bits of of this stuff here. Can I press some into that seam? Oops. Some of it came out. some in here. Again, I'm just trying to press some of the... I keep wanting to call it dough because it feels very much like dough. And obviously I have a lot more experience with dough than with clay. But let me just press a bunch of this around here, trying to get it into those crevices. Alright. And I actually painted the base of these with one, I think a dark brown paint I have. So, you know, if I now want to paint the white stuff brown, I can do that without having to mix a new color. That was kind of intentional to go with a base color basically on that. Okay, so I've pressed this clay in around him like that. Try to get it to focus. There we go. So he looks like it has a belt kind of, but we'll go ahead and paint essentially all of that. Like I said, the others are pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'll probably get paint on me, but then I'll have to go back and do that. No, I think I'm just gonna have to live with it. Well, no, you know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna do it yet. There are some significant seams around him. So you can see that side. That's a pretty significant seam. On that side, you can definitely see where he's attached, right? But what I can do is later on when this is dried, take that and press it in, and even if it comes up a little bit on his torso, that's okay because that's like that's the join between his human half and the horse half. So I think that'll work physically. But why try to stick this on wet paint? We'll just wait because it's white. That'll fit. So we're okay with that. All right, so we're going with that. Let's go ahead and do. Okay, let's come back to him, like we were saying, and we'll go ahead and do a second coat on this. It's not going to be fully dried, but it'll be dried enough that a second coat should be a significant help. It should coat the entire thing. Should give it that extra push. Oh no, I was gonna wait. Actually, that's okay. I was gonna wait for this to dry and put in the white. So, oopsie. What I should do? Where are my tissues? Let me grab a tissue from the other room. In fact, I'll grab a box. All right. So let me just dab off whatever I added to the bottom of that. Basically dry off the bottom using a tissue. Because again, we already have the paint color. So I'm not too worried about that. I want this dried more than anything else. Okay. I think that'll do. All right. So again, we'll take some of this clay, break off a little piece of it, and then try to push it in to that gap. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get my clay into the appropriate spot. There's got to be some way for me to use the toothpick to like grab some. Can I like spear some and push it in? Yeah, kind of. Eh. It's kind of working. Definitely get some in the gap. Getting some in the gap. Okay. That's not terrible. Try that again. Grab a little bit on the end of the toothpick. Press it up onto it. And sort of push it in. Whoop. Push it in. Push it in. Okay. We're getting somewhere with that. Obviously, you want to make sure that you don't turn this into something really rough. You smooth it out at some point. That toothpick is not an ideal implement for this in terms of the shapes it creates. So I'm going to have to pay attention to that. But we are getting clay into that crevice. Try to clean any out of that space. Okay, yeah, that's working pretty well. All right, and then around the back. Just kind of press it there. Try to press that in. Okay, there's some there. Some there. Okay. A little more. And just get that in that space. Okay, that's not too bad. Definitely glad I'm doing this. I think it'll look better. And then I'm just going to kind of scrape out any large lumps, which I'm afraid might get out more than I want. Just trying to use this in a way to make it something that looks fairly natural, where you're not getting either big lumps or big lines in it with that toothpick. Can you guys see any of this? It's kind of both there, Mike. So here's the thing. When this prints, let me get a bit right in here. There. So the design of the 3D print creates this, and actually I believe it printed right side up, or I forget. Anyway, that's weird. Why are there white spots around there? Let me show you here. Actually probably even better on this one. Yeah. So when this prints, I print it upside down. It prints upside down like this. Is that upside down to you? Yeah. And so that the legs are on the top, and so it can kind of print those, and you don't have lots of weird support structures around the body. So the body here is the base, that white part. And so this section up here near the torso, right there, is flat. And then when the head prints, the torso prints, it prints down to the flat base there. And then you're supposed to glue them together. The problem is when you print it upside down, so this part of it here is a little lower than the centaur body. So where the torso connects is lower, but since it prints upside down, there's basically some extra plastic that's printed here into this part that you have to scrape away. And that creates a not exactly flat surface. When the torso prints, it prints naturally, or as it turns out, it's a little concave. So instead of being flat like this, the bottom of it is, if this is the bottom, it's a little curved. So then when you go to glue that onto that plastic on that flat side on the bottom, which has some material on it, especially if that's not exactly level, because of all that plastic stuff you got to scrape away, then you end up with this gap around it. And I don't know quite why it's designed to be flat. It could just be a printing misalignment issue, but it's pretty consistent. So the bottom of the torso is slightly concave, convex, compared to the more or less flat centaur body. That's an easier way of putting it. And so that's an issue. And there's actually some white here, which I'm going to fix, even though it's not the same color. But it is better to put a little bit of a slightly different skin tone to fix some white. It's better to have some slight changes in color. I'm actually going to go ahead and kind of brush all of his shoulders, give him kind of a slight skin change on the shoulders. So yeah, it's kind of both. All right, so let me go ahead and, like I said, this is not, before I do that, there's some bits of clay there that I want to scrape off. They just got kind of stuck on the lower body. Okay, and then around back, actually, they could use some more cleanup. So yeah, kind of both. Okay. So you can see what I've done now is we've got this white clay all around. Why is that not coming off? Okay. Sorry. So we have this white clay all around the torso, which just makes it look a little more combined, a little more natural. And now I'm going to go ahead and take that. Again, normally you don't want to paint over wet or soft clay, because it's generally not going to take the paint very well. But it's okay. It's not ideal, but it's okay. And then one of the keys here is to paint as much of that as possible. You don't want any white showing. Okay. Cool. Okay, so there's a belt there, which I'll be painting in some kind of metal, but you can see now that looks much more naturalistic, especially I think from the back. You'll be able to see how that looks like it's much more blended into the body. In fact, what I might do right now is we'll do some dry brushing. I'm going to get most of the paint off and then just kind of brush around that joint, and that will kind of feather in the color and make it look like it's joined. And fortunately, because there's that kind of armor there, you don't need to do the front, just around the back. So you see with that, feathering looks a little more natural. I'll probably come back in with some black. When I sanded down some of this support material there, it created this slightly gray color on the back. So I think I'm going to come back in with some black and fix that. Just make it a little more uniform. Okay, good. That was worth doing. All right, so that is that skin tone. You'll notice that it went on significantly lighter. So that new color, it'll focus in. Come on. Yeah, it does not like these. There we go. So you might not be able to tell, but the stuff around the waist looks a little lighter, but it will dry darker. Okay, so that's that color. Let's go ahead and do a different skin tone. So I think I'm going to go lighter. Let's add some yellow. Let's go for a very different pigment. Maybe even some more red as well. And we'll go all the way up to sort of a Caucasian-ish thing. This is already a sort of generally Asian-ish skin tone. And you might want to think a little bit about your ethnicities. Would you have a bunch of charcoal black and a bunch of highly Caucasian colored horses together? But it depends on the breeds of the horses that are kind of interbreeding. So that's not quite. Do I want some red? Yeah, I want some red. Add some red. See what happens. Go crazy. If you add too much yellow, you look kind of jaundiced. It's not a very pleasant color. Ooh, I'm liking that, though. Kind of a putty color. Yeah, we're kind of going back to where we were before, though. So maybe I'll lighten that up a little bit more. Do I want that a little lighter? Yeah. A little lighter. Grab some white. Yeah, very, very little paint. I will probably end up not using much of this. Or some of this will end up going to quote-unquote waste. But that's okay. Especially when you're just starting out like I am. You got to expect that. And it's better to have a little more paint than not enough, because then, you paint 3/4 of your mini and the skin tone, and then suddenly you're like, he's going to have to be multicolored. It's very hard to get back to that same exact tint. So, okay. So there's our new. It's still kind of interesting. Not as different as I thought. In fact, now that I look at it, I want to go lighter than that still. Yeah, the white got kind of overwhelmed. So let's add in quite a bit of white. Okay, we're getting paler. Yeah, I'm liking that. That's nice. And then from there, we'll probably go. How many more do we need? We need a total of. Oh, we still haven't done the gray one yet. That's true. It's okay. I'll probably have 2 with the same skin tone. That's not a big problem. All right, so he's gonna have. And like I said, the joints on this one are okay. I'm not too worried about that. These guys look like they're going to need two coats. I love this contrast of color. And these guys actually have like bracers, so I'll come back in and paint those with some kind of metallic color at some date. I'm not too worried. A little bit on the haunches there. Can I get that off? Yes, I can. Good. All right. Again, this is a very simple smear job. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, the one nice thing about having the brown undercoat is that even if this dries a little splotchy, it's actually okay. It'll just look like it's it's somebody with a variable skin color where it's a little darker in some areas than others. That's actually quite natural. That people aren't a single uniform color over their entire body. So I might be able to get away with just one coat of him. And they have hair and such, so we'll come back and do that as well. So it's the kind of thing where you don't want to skimp on that step. You don't want to say, well, I'm gonna leave it that way because I don't care. It's more a matter of you look at it and you're like, oh well, that might actually look okay. In the context, it ends up as an artistic decision as opposed to a lazy decision. It just happens to be one that requires less work. And in fact, this is going on well enough. I do not think I will need a second coat. Like it's sticking pretty well. Okay. And we'll coat this. We'll coat this. All right. I think we pretty much got it. Make sure we get all of our crevices. Give the back a little bit more. Okay. Cool. And again, if I was really careful, there are a few seams there on the shoulder where the shoulder gets glued in. Barely see them. Yeah, you can kind of see that seam there. So you could put a little clay in there just to make that seam. And you can see it from there. Yeah, it's hard to tell with the light, but there's definitely a significant seam there. Yeah, you can see that now. So, you could be really careful. The other thing too is, you guys are kind of looking at it at the scale you look at it on a tabletop, right? In normal play, you're not looking at all these little individual seams. It doesn't matter. Okay, good. So I'm content with this. Let's go back to here. I'm sure that super glue is dried by now. So let's go ahead. I think I'm going to add some gray. Gray is kind of an interesting color to add to a skin tone. It's not something you want to do a lot of, but it sometimes adds just an interesting little tinge. It just gives it some character, and that kind of got absorbed in. Can barely see any difference. Yeah, we need a little more than that. Just a nice medium gray. Yeah, it's a little different. That's making its existence known. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, we'll go with that. Slight variation on the other color, just enough that probably by the time it dries, you'll notice. Brush that off, and we'll start on him. How is that? Ooh, no, I can do some. Yeah, let's fix him so you can see the seam there very clearly between the torso and the body. So that's what I want to fix right there. Okay, good. I'm glad I noticed that. And again, you could go back to what I was saying before, that no one's really going to notice this at normal table scale, but you got to figure out kind of at what point you want to really pay attention, if you will. Got some awkwardly shaped pieces here. I'm hoping I can press in. Okay, starting to get some stuff. And again, let's not drop that in the paint, if at all possible. And we'll just push that in there. Yeah, this is definitely going to look better. Another example of why. Another example of where you choose how detailed you want to get with these. You can be very, very loose and just kind of throw a base color on there and just be done with it. That's totally fine. But the more you learn, the more you practice, the better you can make them look. And I like to be able to say, look, this is all I wanted to do at the time. So that's how good it looks. And then maybe in 3 months, I'll revisit it. And again, you can also always come back and repaint these. I could come back and say to one of these over there that I didn't do this to, and say, you know what, I'm going to grab some clay, I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to completely recoat the mini to hide all those things. I may choose different skin tones, different colors. You could always do that. There is, at some point, kind of a practical stopping point where there are so many coats of paint on it that you would need to scrape that off or dissolve it or something, and then you may have some problems with a mini because of how things have lodged in there. There is a practical maximum, but by that point you've made so many changes to that mini that it's like, well, it's kind of giving you its usefulness, right? Like, you can't be too precious with these things. Got to realize that there is a lifespan to how much of these things you can modify. But it's surprising how much you can do, just to start with. Okay, that might be, I think I'm going to need to add a little bit more here just to make that a softer edge. Just press that in. Ooh. That arm wants to pop off. Perhaps I should glue it in more sturdily. Would not have been a bad idea to add some clay into that joint. But I wasn't thinking about that at the time. So I'm just sort of rolling this clay into that gap, trying to get it as clean as possible. Okay. Just press that in. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So in a second here, once I get this last bit pressed in, I'll show you what I got. So there's that mini, if it'll focus, come on, there, with that clay pressed in all around that joint. And like I said, it just kind of finishes it off, makes it a little more clean. All right, so we got that. We'll come back to this. Yeah, and we'll give him his thing. No really dark skin tones on this one. Kind of interesting. I've gone relatively Caucasian on these guys, actually. Or on the more Caucasian end of the skin tone spectrum. And so let's go ahead and throw that in there. So how you been doing, Mike? What's new in your world? Oh, I should have put some clay in there. Oh well. Yeah, let me do that. Grab a little bit of clay and press it in. I said grab a little bit of clay. Yeah, all right. Yep. These little bits don't want to go in there. Okay. There's a little clay goes in there. Yep. Doesn't want to stick. This goes here. Press that in. Yep. Yep. Okay, just get a fair amount of that in that pocket. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop there. Again, I don't want to then force that in too firmly and then weaken the joint where the glue is. But I think that'll help. Make that joint look a little, yeah, that's good. Makes the joint look a little more uniform. Throw that in there. I've been having kind of a rough week sleep-wise. Really weird night's sleep. And then kind of sleeping during the day. That kind of thing. Hard to get motivated on things. Oops, almost dropped it. That would have been bad. So, definitely one of those first world problems. Can't complain too much, but it is certainly a thing. Get that paint around here. Cover as much of that white as I can. Some of that will get covered by the whatever metal color I use for the for that metal band above the bizarre crotch flap. Again, don't quite know why they're putting a loincloth at the front of a centaur, but whatever. Okay. Here, push this over there. Well, you gotta make sure you're getting the color everywhere. You're not missing anything. Yeah, this did not print particularly well, if I'm honest. Some raggediness in the print. So that printer probably needs some calibration, some work. Okay. Oops. Got a little down there. All right. Anywhere else? Yeah, there's a bit on the back, and we'll be good to go. A bit over there as well. Okay. This guy's actually missing some fingers over here. All right. So there's the color on him. And now, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I think just brighten this up a lot with some white. And put that there. Qualdo, no, 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 and no. All right. Brighten that up. I could go even lighter than that. Perhaps I will. Yeah, I think I want a lighter color than that. Just to see what I get. Actually, I might use that as the skin color for my my little sword guy here. Yeah, I think I'll do that. He has practically, actually there's no exposed skin on him. And he's got like this weird cloak. There's like no exposed skin. So he doesn't need it. Anywhere else that needs, oh, and we've got a little bit of white that didn't incorporate there. Do I want to go whiter than that? Yeah. Let's go white. Again, Qualdo, it's a bad troll. Like, it's just too obvious. All right. I can live with that. There we go. So then we dry this off. And we will do him a gun. Yeah, we've gotten a skin tone on everyone. That's a nice contrast. So once this is done, I'll come back and do some hair color. Just got to figure out what hair color they would have. Kind of like the idea that they have a different hair color. Actually, do they have any hair? Yeah, he's got, oh, it's interesting. They've got like a half hair. Huh. Which should more or less correspond to the color of their fur, right? So I'll come back and do that. It'll be okay if it's not exact. Let's see here. Okay. And get that paint up here. There we go. I could try to just paint and avoid those places where the hair is, but not feeling it. I feel like coming back in and going over it again. Let's see. Get all of that painted up. That looks nice. Really glad now that I came back in and did that extra clay work. It definitely helps. Definitely makes it look better. Okay. Little things you learn. Okay. Cool. Any other spots I can get up in there? Anything else? A bit up in there. Okay. I'd like to figure out a use for this this color, though. We'll see. Actually, it would not be bad for some of the details on the hippo guy. Maybe shirt, pants, even the the stuff there. Yeah, maybe he's got. I should look up like. Yeah, I should look up like royal. I'll pull up a thing. Yeah. Let's look up maybe British Raj uniform. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're going for. So unfortunately, there's no cream color, and of course he's going to be. Ooh, I could go with that though. It's not the British uniform, so it's a quote unquote not. Oh, that's pretty close. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking something like. Do I have? Let me see if I can pull in. 1 sec. Nope. So I'm thinking of maybe something like that for the uniform. But that's pretty yellow. Well, I can add some yellow to that. That might be it for his uniform color. Yeah, let's try that. Let's throw some yellow into there. A lot of yellow. Probably more yellow than that. Let's see here. Ooh, that's a rather nice color. Bit of a sandy yellow. But it will definitely need to be more yellow than that. Okay. Again, it's a nice yellow though. But not what we want. So we grab some yellow, some more yellow, mix that in. I think we'll get a rather respectable. Yeah. Color. And again, it might not even be accurate. The point is not so much to be accurate, it's to evoke. Okay. It's interesting. Yeah, that'll work. Let me add a glove. All right. So I'm going to slather this color more or less over the entire body. Again, we can always come back and we will come back and color in the details. But I am very much of the opinion that it's better to at least have a mini with a color on it than not. I probably will not. I will not paint the head or the hands because I know I'm going to come back with gray. That's easy enough. That's an easy decision. But I think everything else, epaulettes, you name it, is going to be this color. Yeah, I do like this color. It does feel like it's sort of a yellow uniform that's been out, that's been, in the desert a long time. It's seen a lot of action. So that's very, very satisfying. Yeah, so as long as you're not throwing on massive amounts of paint, it's totally okay to get paint on everything, kind of a thin layer, a thin but complete layer on everything, so at least you have a colored mini. And we just get in everything, get up in there. Woo! Pardon me, sir. Hippos are incredibly dangerous animals, by the way. They are nasty. They will come at you. They will attack you. They are vicious. And I think they say that, far more people are killed by hippos every year than like lions. Lions barely kill anyone any given year. But I think something like more people are killed by hippos than any other animal in Africa. Something like that. It's kind of crazy. But they are aggressive. When I went to South Africa on my photo safari, we got I don't know, maybe quite a ways, probably 100, 150 yards away from some hippos. And they're like, those are hippos. And we're not going to get any closer to them. Like, you can see hippos. We're done. It is not worth anyone's time to get any closer. Like, we turned a corner, there were some hippos. Like, okay, look at them. And now we leave in the other direction. You do not want to mess with hippos. I think it's one of the reasons why they chose them for this creature, because they are a very aggressive species. And in the Spelljammer setting, they are these mercenaries who just kind of love war, love fighting. And they are vicious, much like real hippos. Kind of like Drax from Doctor Who, which may have been modeled on the GIF for all I know. No, GIF, I think Doctor Who came out with those earlier. I think they appeared in Doctor Who earlier. Okay. So, we've got our one color on that. Cool. Did we get underneath there? Yes, we did. Yeah, bottom. Okay. Cool. So yeah, there's the, whoops, not quite everywhere. Okay. Yeah, so there's our mini. Whoops. Let's switch over on that. Sorry, you can see that. So there's our GIF, all covered in kind of this uniform yellow, dirty yellow. And we'll come back in a few minutes once this has gotten a chance to dry, and do the hands in gray and some brown for the other pieces. In fact, we may use this as a base for our brown. Might be interesting. All right, so that's there. We have this guy. Let me do a bit of research onto what the heck he is. Let's see here. Probably over here. I can pull up. You pull up. Is it one of those? Yeah, I think that's it. Whoa, 1 sec. That's it, the Marut. Okay, yeah, so I did a very different version of this. So I get to go crazy. That's cool. So what do I want? So we definitely want the metal here. I think I'm going to go with like a dark color around the armor, and the head will be different. So Yeah, we want it to be very metallic. In fact, I might just go with different. Let's just do that. Let's do a steel undercarriage, so to speak, and then like a pewter armor. So we'll do different shades of metallic color for the different parts of it. I like that idea. Okay. Let's do that, and then again, we can come back to some of these once they're dried. So we're not going to reuse him just yet. We'll use a different brush. I'm going to go with this one, which is a, see if you can see that, one sec. It's a fairly small brush. And we're going to grab some. So we're going to use this steel color for the legs. And then for the inside of the legs, those sort of tights, if you will. This will probably need multiple coats because of the white. This particular metallic paint tends to be fairly thin, so it often needs multiple coats, and especially having this dark color on this very white plastic is not doing us any favors in terms of coverage. Yeah, almost certainly. But that's okay. And so we got to look at and see where we have kind of again, so this underbody versus the metal pieces over top of it. And as usual, I'm okay with splashing around a bit here, since we'll be coming back and painting on other places. So I'd rather get it all over the place and then be more careful on the second round. Okay, so there's that. There's armor here, and then there's some sort of, and there's a strip underneath there. So we'll do that, which comes around to here. It looks like there's a, oh nope, it goes underneath there. Okay, so we've got that strip there. We need to use it a little bit more. Underneath, and put that there, a bit more over here. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, and then the arms, there's this sort of strip of arm here we want to get paint on. And my hand is getting shaky because it's later at night, and my hands shake at the best of times, but especially after I've been doing this for a little while. And do we come up here? Yeah, we'll come up here, get that shoulder joint, inside the shoulder joint, I should say. Get in there. Oop. Oh, there's a little plastic tag I did not get out from the 3D print. Looks like it's jammed in there. Okay. So I'm just going to paint all over it, and we're going to have to live with that. And then the arm, didn't get that arm there. Get in there, get all the way in there. Yeah, and it's better to slather paint into those inner recesses because it'll be hard to get back into when you're doing the other sections. So you might as well kind of fill in and be sloppy. So when you come back, you just cover over those little edges with your new paint color, and it'll look fine. All right. To that point, I think I'm going to paint the inside of these these metal pieces with this steel color, which wouldn't be accurate, but it's almost impossible. It'll be almost impossible for me to get in there with whatever color I come over with. So I'd rather get, like I said, a base coat on the bottom, and so that I can sort of add some paint around it and get close, but it's okay if there's a slight color mismatch in there. Okay, so that, I think, is all of the internal sections on that guy. And so we'll come back in a little bit and do paint all around, a different shade on the others, and probably do a second coat on that, yeah. All right, do we need, this is a good opportunity to do those metal bands. So let me take the steel and paint these metal bands on the front of these centaurs. One trick is that when you fill up your brush with paint, only use that on large surfaces, and then on those little detail surfaces, wait until you've used up most of the paint on your brush before you go back in to add more paint to the brush, and use that on those little spots so you don't get huge globs of metal or of paint, in this case metal paint, on your brush. I don't know where that metal is supposed to be connected to, but that's okay. Bit of a mystery. So you see here I'm using the paint I put on the brush for these large areas. And I'm going to come back here, now that I have less on there, and paint in those fine details with less paint, so I'm less likely to mess up. Just a little trick. And for these very, very wet paints, be wary of trying to slather on so much that it gets really dark. You're just not going to get enough on, and you'll end up with drips. So it's one of those things where once you realize, oh, I'm not getting a lot on there, let it be a thin coat, and then come back to it later. Don't try to force it. All right, so there's that metal band. And then that saddle, I just don't know what to do with the saddle. I probably just add some brown paint to it. Okay. There's a metal band. Look at that loincloth. Still makes me, I find hilarious. All right, so we'll just go ahead and do the metal band. I think they'll all have the same color metal band. We'll assume they're all part of the same tribe. So they all got them from the same place. They all use the same armor. Again, why you would armor your waist and not your chest, basically, and not your it's just that is not nearly as vital of a spot to be punctured as here. Whatever. Goes here. That's nice, actually. I mean, it's ridiculous, but it adds a nice little feature to the miniature. I'll show you this in a second. Yeah. So there it is with those metal bands painted in. It's rather nice. Again, we need to add some detail to his torso, but I like it. I like it a lot. As an accent, I'm not against accents. You just got to make some sense. Like, I love how the GIF has a bunch of pouches and other leather accoutrements, because when you're out in a place of adventure, you need to keep stuff with you. That's all about being prepared. That makes sense for a violent mercenary but a nymph probably would not carry all that much in the way of stuff. At least in my world, nymphs are kind of hippies. So they're a bit more about living off the natural lay of the land and not being quite as prepared. Okay, so here's that guy in his metallic belt. Rather nice. Got to figure out some special stuff for the. Ooh, almost dipped the steel brush into the beige paint. Would have been horrible. Emergency. Okay. Get around here. And again, this is why it's so nice to just lay down a base color. It really starts to bring the figure together. You could totally, or I could totally, take this miniature, stop right here, and be quite content, because it would look quite interesting. And just be kind of okay, sure enough, that's a centaur. And a little bit more. Okay. Try to make sure we get all of that metal band. Okay. So there we go. Rather nice. And yeah, we will throw on that. This should look quite dashing on the black. A relatively subtle accent, I think, on the black. Ooh, I'm getting him. Got a bit more there. See if I can get that off. And a little bit. Okay. Went a bit too much on that particular run. But again, I could always come back in with some black and cover that over. Okay, yeah, I can definitely feel like I'm getting a little tired here. My brush strokes are a little messy. Okay, so let me pause once I get this in, and then we will look at what we've got. Obviously, I'm not done, but it's a good moment to actually, wait a minute. Before I go any further, this guy has 2 swords. Might as well just throw on steel onto his swords. We know we'll need that. The paint's out. The brush is loaded. It'll take less than 2 minutes, and he will have his nice metal swords. And then we will take a moment to see where we are. Make sure we have a little more on those edges. All right. So, where are we? So we have 4 centaurs with torsos and belts painted. That's good. We have a GIF with at least one color on it, and we have our robot guy with a drying set of something. Actually, I can see right now some spots on there where I did not get in very thick, and maybe that was just the brush. Maybe that was just the thinness. But I'm going to go ahead and give him sort of his second coat now. Just go back over those spots that are clearly thin. just give me a few moments here. I'm going to go ahead and get in and get all those spots painted. I'm not too worried about filling in every nook and cranny, because that was the whole point of that first coat, was to get in all those nooks and crannies and just fill in those spots that might be impossible to go into later. But I want to make sure I get, there was a spot, good. Okay, there's a spot I missed before, there's another spot I missed before. Okay, good. I think we've got, well, I can go down in there, definitely. In there? Yeah, let me go in there. Okay, glad I paid attention. Okay. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So all that was doing is just filling in that metal. So you can probably see already how just that second coat really thickened it in and made it feel more solid. So that will need less time to dry because it was a relatively thin coat and on top of an existing coat. So that tends to bind a little more easily with these acrylics at least. So if I were to stop here or stop soon with these centaurs, what would I do? What I want to do to finish these off. So I would probably need, I need to brush these centaurs down with, just do a dry brush, maybe of like a light gray on this one, and just add in some details. I should paint in the saddles as well. Yeah, that might just be some straight up brown paint. Let's see what else. What else would I need? I do dots for eyes, obviously. And what we need, they need hair. They need hair as well. That's important. So hair, eyes, kind of brushing down the bodies. Again, he's just going to get a different colored metal on the outside of his, and I'll do like a copper for the disc, like the idea of that disc being a different color. So that's easy enough. And then this guy, again, I want to kind of throw some color on him. I don't know. Maybe, you know what? He's going to be beige. I'm going to throw a bunch of this beige on him. This will not be the color for all of them, but just like the GIF, like this would be a base. And then I can come back in and give other elements of it other shades. In fact, I kind of like the idea that he has dark colors, but maybe he's like a desert assassin type. So he's going to have all sandy colored stuff. Yeah, we'll go with that. So I'll start here. In fact, what I might end up doing is, after I get this base coat on, mix up a browner version of this and use that as my secondary color for him. Maybe for his pants will be this brown, or a more brown but still sandy color. And it'll just be kind of a two-toned mini. I like that idea. And then maybe he should have, he'll have like a leather breastplate, so that'll be like a brown. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So let's just get him uniformly sandy, so to speak. There are moments when this gets a little tedious, but you just got to power through. And I'll give the hilts of the swords a brown as well, like a dark brown. So maybe we'll use the same brown for his breastplate and the hilt of the sword. But we'll just give it a quick once over here. Okay, that goes in. Look at all of this. Maybe I'll add a little dot of color right here, just to imply there's like a brooch or something, even though there's no physical detail for it. It will just add some visual interest and implication. Then let's go ahead and do back here. Get all of the cloak. As usual, I don't really care about getting paint on the base. I could come back in and fix that, but I have not yet gotten to the point of being careful about the base. I don't try to get paint on it, but if there's some marks here and there, okay. Yeah, so we will let him dry over here. That's a good starting color there. All right. So like I said, now we need to work on some other stuff. Let's do some hair. So I'm just going to use, now I'm not sure if that's a dark brown, dark brown, or my light brown. So there's the dark chocolate. I think so. So I think what I'll do is I'll take this light brush and I'm going to paint his hair. So at least with this particular design, they all have, they've kind of shaved their heads. So they have hair along one side and then kind of curling down the sides of their heads, which is kind of interesting. Interesting visual flair there, visual idea. Ooh. My hand is shaking. That crazy. That crazy, man. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's where that hair goes. So there's the hair. Again, kind of on the side of the head. Interesting. And you see that with the thing. Also I'm going to come back down with a light brown and use that for the saddles, I think. He will also need the brown, dark brown for his hair. Yeah, that's the right color. What I find so weird is that several of these printed flipped horizontally, I guess. So there's like, what is the right hand on one is the left hand on the other, and the hair's on one side on one and one side on the other. Don't know how that happened. It's a mystery. Mystery. All my life has been a mystery. All right. And then this goes here. And then this goes up here. And then there we go. So there's his head of hair. Rather dapper. Okay. The other thing is, even though he has gray, I don't want to give him a gray head of hair. So I'm going to give him brown hair. And it's on this side. Just for some interesting variation. Points, by the way, if you recognize that mystery song. Epic Points. And there's that hair all painted in. Oops, need a bit more paint on this side. Get that edge painted in. Okay, so again, gray body, but brown hair. Then, hey Kenshin, welcome back, good to see you. Yes, these are all 3D printed on my printers. They are for probably D&D at some point. They were, actually I've been working on some fantasy wargaming rules. So you take miniatures and make them fight. And you can use, cutouts, paper tokens, whatever you want. Don't have to be actual miniatures. But so I was playing around with different units, and I wanted to have mounted units, and I thought, well, if you've got fantasy units, why just have horses with units on it? Why not have centaurs? So that was kind of the idea. All right, so there was a bit of a new. Where is the black? All right, what is this? This is the dark brown. So I'm going to be a little naughty here. I'm going to try to get all the brown on there, off there, and then use that for the black hair on him. So we may cross the streams just slightly here, get a little bit of the brown and the black, but I think it'll be okay. End up with a lot of black on my brush. I'm being very careful here. But good to see you, Kenshin. Haven't seen you in a while. That I've noticed on the stream. Okay, the one problem with this black is its gloss. Looks shiny. And you know, one's hair can look shiny at times, but not typically. So it can look a little strange. Okay, and then as I was saying, I'm going to go ahead and just use this paint on some of the areas on him, just because there are some spots that got some weird coloration on them. That's better. In fact, I might just brush this down, give it a slightly glossy. The horse's coat is as a gloss makes sense. A nice glossy horse, feels like sweat. But for hair, it looks kind of weird. So yeah, I mean the centaurs are more or less for fun. All right, so there's there, and then him. So again, he's gonna have a black hair. Just gonna do it. I'm crazy like that. Oh wow, I missed a whole chunk of the hair, it looks like. Oh no, that's just that. That's just a light. We're okay. We're okay. It's all good. It's okay. All right. And can I get a little bit of black on there? Could I kind of scrape that off? Yeah. Kind of scraped off the brown too, but oh well. All right, let's get all of that painted. Okay. Good. So there's that black hair. Kind of nice. I like the black hair with the white body. And while the black's open, the black can paint, I'm going to go ahead and paint in the eyes. So do I have... One sec. I need a knife. A sharp knife. That'll do. Okay, so I didn't bother to show you this, but I went ahead and sharpened the tip of this toothpick. Most toothpicks are a little dull, because I'm going to paint in some eyes. So I'm going to dip the toothpick in the black. That's a bit too much. And then I'm going to, hopefully, get some dots in there. That's not going well. That's not bad. So that gives him some eyes. Yeah, it's better. Alright. Same idea. That's pretty messy. brush that off. That's better. Okay. And we're just trying to dot the spots on the figure where the eyes would go. And unfortunately, these minis have very prominent brows. It's actually quite hard to get there. Okay, that's not too bad. He looks a little sunken-eyed, but what can you do? Whoa. Okay, that's a little much. Maybe scrape some of that off. And then just dab in. There we are. That's kind of what I'm looking for. A little, a little much. He looks like a bit like he's got some mascara on there, but that's all right. Alrighty. So there are the eyes, and then let's go ahead and paint in. Do I have brown on any of these? That is black. That is metal. That is beige. Let's go ahead and use this brush. It's a fairly large brush by our standards. That's okay. And we're going to use the dark brown on the saddle. Back in the saddle again. Out where a friend is a friend. Okay, and just try to get that over there as cleanly as possible. My tub of brown is kind of sticky. Probably need to remix it. I've got some normal paint at the bottom, but a lot of partially dried stuff on the sides. So I should really get in there and do something about that. And the other question is, do I want to paint up that bizarre loincloth on the front of him? Front of each of these. Probably should. Maybe it's meant to be like a blanket? I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it on him. All male centaurs, I notice. At least this one designer has not provided female centaurs. I don't think. That might lead to issues on some of these platforms that get a little worried about nudity. Although I suppose you could always throw like a seashell bra on them or something. Okay, so there's that little thing. So here's our centaur with the little thing there and the saddle. That's okay. Need a little bit more brown on this saddle here. Back in the saddle again. Okay. That'll have to do. Having some issues there. Alright, we'll get these saddles done. And I want to do something with this gray. I'm not a big fan of this gray for this horse's color. I might brush a bunch of, maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll brush a bunch of white on here. Not a full coat of white, but like a very thick dry coat. So it covers a large percentage of it, but kind of unequally. That might be interesting. Visually interesting. To give it kind of that idea of being a partially gray, partially white fur, if you will, or coat, horse's coat. I might do that. All right. There. Oops. Need a bit more up here. There we are. So there's his saddle. And we'll do the frontispiece. And might as well. When I say frontispiece, it's again kind of a loincloth, I assume. Okay. There we are. And he needs a saddle, so he gets one. That's simple. Almost impossible to see on this black. I mean, I can see it reasonably well, but it barely shows up. In fact, I would not mind using the light brown, which I'll probably need for the other ones. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it dries. This is definitely very hard to make out as a as a saddle. And again, why are they wearing saddles? I don't know. So that works. Oh, let's go ahead and got some dabs of beige on that. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and give him dark brown. Let's see here. Let me look at our stuff. Boots, definitely. So the bandolier, not really a bandolier, but this thing will get brown. This satchel, nice dark brown there. Oh, and we'll also use this color for the other mini. Like his boots will probably get a similar color, and we'll probably add some dark brown into our beige for that secondary color. Our big pot of beige. Our big pot of beige. Okay. Get around there. Get a little more brown on the. Ooh, that's a lot more brown. Wow. Yep. Again, trying to use most of that color there. Then that, and try to get around the edges best I can. Okay, and then how does that? Oh yeah, it actually comes all the way around, like accurately. Ooh, got a bit too much up there. Can I get that off? And not really without getting it everywhere. Okay, fair enough. Okay, there we go. There we are. There. And get some on the top of that. Okay. So there's that. And then, like we said, we want his boots to be brown. I'll be very careful here. I'm very close to accidentally dipping this brush in one of the open pots. So I really should close all the pots except the one I'm using. Maybe momentarily. Instead I'm going to live life on the edge. Okay, get that boot painted up. This is fiddly work, but I'm sure it will end up looking great. Get back in there. I either get nothing on the brush, or tons. That's a problem. Okay. It's got to be a little messy. This might be a mini where I come back in and paint the base, because the base is just kind of a complete mess at this point. Okay. There are his boots. He has a little dagger there. I think I'll go ahead and give his dagger a little bit of metal there, or a little bit of wood. You know, give him that brown. Okay. I mean, his belt. Yeah, let's. Go ahead and tab that belt with some brown. Why not? Why not? Just give it what it needs. A little bit of TLC. A little bit of paint is what it is. Right, and then obviously his pistol needs lots of brown, so I might as well do that. Might come back in and do it a lighter brown. Got a lot of the same brown on this one, which I'm not too thrilled with. But also, you know, again, as a draft, as a first run set of colors, that's not the worst thing in the world. You know, at least you get brown everywhere it needs to be. Okay. Cool. All right. So his pistol's there. Now I really want to use this mini. Dang it. I'll have to come up with some reason to use it. And the scabbard should be, I think, the scabbards are black, aren't they? No, they're fairly... Well, we'll do brown, and then we'll probably do it in black once I've... Come on there. Once I looked at it, once I've felt it. And again, this may be one of those things where, in reality, they were brown, but we think of them as black. So the imagination wins in that sense. Okay, good. So you can see how just adding that second tone really starts to make that figure start to shine. And then we'll come back in and actually needs a little extra paint here. There, just to fill that in. Good. Okay. So yeah, that feels good. Now what? His boots. We wanted to give him brown boots, made for walking. Ooh. Kind of getting that brown everywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to live with that for now. I just threw in some brown on the boots. That's fine. Do I need brown anywhere else? I think I'm good with at least with the dark brown. This is the dark brown. And then let me go ahead and I'll just get that brown off of here. And in fact, go even further. I'm going to use the light brown on the brown horses for their saddle, just to kind of give it that sense of reality. And again, if I get a little bit of dark brown in a medium brown, I'll live. So that saddle needs to be a different color. Ooh, you can barely tell what that is. But, you know, it might be okay. It'll probably dry a little later. We'll see. Is that actually light brown? I may have painted these guys light brown. I think I did. I must have. Huh, that's funny. Yeah, that's the same color. So that's a saddle with that color. I don't think it's going to... Oops, sorry. I think it's going to probably dry the same color as that horse. Yeah, okay. Huh, all right. Unless I was silly. No, you know, that's dark brown there on that saddle. So, all right. Let me get that off of there. And then we will go back into the light brown, or into the dark brown. And again, as I said earlier, getting a little bit of different shades in there won't kill me. So he's going to get that dark brown saddle. Yeah, that's definitely a different color. Okay. Interesting. And now I've got back in the saddle again in my head. Not the worst thing in the world, but also a kind of ridiculous song. All right. I actually like how this particular color has dried. It's kind of a mottled brown on the white. It actually looks pretty good. Like I wouldn't want to thicken that up and make it a uniform brown because it looks like a horse. That's pretty cool. There's that centaur from the front. So, all right. Now what do we need? We need the metal on him. We need the gray on him. And we need another color of this. So let's come back. So this guy, we want... Am I going to be... Yeah, let's do that. So this is the dark brown, right? Yep. So I'm going to use dark brown for his breastplate, as previously established. Just his, essentially, a brown shirt. Go ahead and let that come down a little bit. Okay. Man, that does not want to settle in there. Excuse me. So there's him with his breastplate. Leather breastplate. Not bad. Not a lot of detail in this figure, admittedly. So yeah, so let me go ahead and then mix in, I think I'll mix in some dark brown with this tan that we already have and create our alternate color for his outfit, his sort of contrasting color. So that's a slightly darker color. And we'll definitely want to mix in some more of the dark brown. I'm surprised. I figured that dark color would just eat into that, but apparently not. Darken that right up, but it didn't. All right, that's getting a significantly different color. Not too much darker. Yeah, that's not going to be noticeably darker. So, you know what we'll do? We'll make a deal with the devil. So, whoa. Well, there's a weirdly shaped stick. Okay, yeah. That's giving us a different color. Alright, that's an interesting color. Sort of gray putty color. I should check rhino pictures and see if rhinoceroses are ever this color. Or hippos, rather. Because if so, that's a pretty good hippo color. I mean, normally I just go with a straight gray, but that's interesting. All right. But for now, is this what we were using? Yeah, there's the brown. I can use use this because I don't care about getting this color, having some black on that. So his pants will be this color. Make sure to get the entire pant, so to speak. And then on the other side, okay. That's interesting. Color-wise. I like that. I can live with that. We will need some brown. That's funny. Keep reusing that brown. See, this was our beige. Should we use the beige for that? Okay. I'll come back in later and add a little bit of brown on the hilt of those swords, but that's essentially done. So let me just look up hippos real quick. That's definitely a hippo color. Sweet. Okay, then. So it looks like just the head and the hands are exposed. So we'll go ahead and throw that color on. And if I paint more minis, I'll just give them different shades of skin tone. Yeah, that's a nice color. It's not the color you kind of expect immediately out of a hippo, but as soon as you see the shape, like it makes sense. It doesn't seem out of character for a hippo to have that color of head. It's nice. And we'll do some toothpick eyes here as well. I think. Yeah, that should be easy. Okay. Hard to tell where the... there it is. Okay. Yeah, there it is. There's the hand. Interesting. This is one of the fun things about doing a mini for the first time is you find all these little spots where it's like, oh, there's where that finger is. There's where that's curling around. Okay. There's that. There's that. Get in all these little spots. Make sure they're nice and covered. And obviously, you'll notice I just had my finger on the head. So I'll go ahead and repaint the head, and then we'll do the hand. Down here. And get the back of the hand, and that will be the hippo's skin. I like that quite a lot. Ah, don't fall on me. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So there's our GIF. Paint it up. That's pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead. Like we were saying. I think, is that our black? Or is that our, that's our metal. That's our black, right? Yeah, that's our black. So I'm going to grab some black and paint the scabbard glossy black. Because I just decided that scabbard is glossy black. That's just what it is. Again, it's one of those things where, ooh, I'm getting black all over the place. Ooh. Oh well. He's got some black spatter on his clothes. Yeah, I think just that sword scabbard needs to be a nice glossy black, and maybe not actual regulation, but that is what our brains think when we think of a British colonial officer's scabbard. Okay. Then there was something I was noticing. Oop. Did not get all the way in. Oh, what's this? This is the wrong brush. Did not get all the way down in there with that color. There we go. Actually, I could, yeah, be a little thicker with this in the back of the head. Okay. That's rather nice. It's quite nice. Right? Nope. Did not quite get in the nose. Okay. Cool. I'm loving it. So, been going for about 2 hours now, but I want to finish this up. So let me see if I can get, so this is the metal. All right, I'm going to wash this out of it so I can do the metal on that one. And that might be it for tonight. Again, no, I'll brush, I'll do a couple more. So I'll do the metal on him, and then I will brush some white on him. Yeah, and that will probably be it for tonight. All right, let's finish this up. This will feel nice. So we use this smaller one. Let's cap up some paints first. Now that we're on the home stretch. The white, I'm actually going to use the white, so we don't cap that up just yet. The dark chocolate makes me hungry. There's a white. Yellow. Coal is the black. Don't need that. Put that back, in fact. And indeed, let's pull out the, I think we'll do the pewter color for the other part of that. So there's the steel. We used over there. Put that back. And we're come down with the chocolates. Where's the cap for the gray? There's the gray. which we were going to use for the hippo, but we don't need to. Cool, cool, cool. I don't need yellow or the blue right now, or the red. Okay, so again, we're going to use the pewter, and we'll probably use the, yeah, it doesn't matter. We've got a lot of surfaces to cover, so we'll use a relatively large one, and we're just going to slather this on here. Oh, we also want to do the copper, that copper disc. So maybe before we're done, we'll do that real quick. So just trying to get full coverage on this. And again, we'll try to be fairly, I'm going to try to be fairly careful here. Trying not to go too crazy slopping the paint around, especially now we're sort of winding down the session. If you slap paint everywhere, then you start getting frustrated with yourself, and it gets frustrating. I will probably need 2 coats on this, partly because the 3D print created some significant, you can see, I'm sure you'll be able to see it on the legs, there's some significant layering there. So several coats of paint will get into those layers and hide them. So I'll probably end up doing multiple coats of paint. Again, I probably won't show you all the coats of paint tonight. We'll do like 1 coat and then I'll come back some other time and finish that out. But as an FYI for kind of the full process on these. And this is going on again. These metallic paints tend to be thin, at least the brand I'm using here. So you're not going to see a really beautiful paint job with this first coat. You'd want to do a couple of different coats. But fortunately, it's just, coming back and putting more paint on, and then more paint on, and then more paint on. It's not difficult, just a little time consuming. But the work is rewarded. Like, it looks way better for those extra coats, usually. Painting minis like this, it's often the finishing touches are what really makes it shine. So it's that coming back and doing that extra coat that really makes it look amazing. Not that this will necessarily look amazing, but that will almost certainly improve it. Okay. And then we've got this sort of crotch bit here. Get all that metal stuff. Those joints, seams in the legs. Get those nice and painted up. Okay. Oh, I also wanted that little brooch for the other guy. Let me go back and do that once I finish this little piece of him. It's got another seam up there. Go ahead and paint that. I like that. So I think I'm going to use this pewter color. All over there. And then, paint there. Okay, let me grab him. Yeah, like I said, I'm just going to grab some of this little paint here and just do a little dab. That's a big dab. There's a dab of metal paint right in the middle there, just to imply like a brooch. See that? Yeah, not bad. Where was I? There we are. So then let me get, so there's stuff on the side there we want to get. Stuff on the other side we want to get. And I can afford to slop up next to the disc, because I'll be going back over that disc with the copper color, copper paint. Okay, I do like this two-tone effect with this particular creature. The fact that the undercolor isn't black, right? It's another metallic color. So it definitely feels like some strange creature, some strange, metallic construct, despite the very humanoid appearance. You're not going to look at this and say, "Oh, is that a guy in a suit?" Probably not. This is actually a custom combination of several different 3D models. I couldn't find a model of what I was looking for, so I just took some out there and just sliced and diced different pieces together. So it's the body, so one body, different head, and then I added the disc. So body minus head, and that new head, and the identity disc, the data disc. I think it's the contract disc. That's really what it's storing. The contract that the creature is there to enforce, or will enforce one way or the other. Okay, that's looking nice. Yeah. So I don't know quite how many coats this will need, but actually on the arms, that's looking like a good coat. I don't know that I'll need much more than that on the arms. And if there are little bits on the inside where you're like, oh, I'm probably gonna move over onto the other, onto the stuff that technically should be, the steel, that's okay. Like, no one's gonna notice those little areas inside the figure where the metal doesn't quite match. No one's gonna probably see that, unless you're doing like tournament work, which I certainly am not. Okay, then we'll do the head. I'm almost thinking of doing the head a different color. Not sure. I feel like the head should be a little different, but let's just paint it up first. We can always do a different color on top of that. Perhaps the head is also the copper color? Oh, I like that idea. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Let me just spread out the paint that I've slopped all over there. Okay, so we need metal in there. Good. Need metal in there. That's fine. Okay. Make sure we cover the back fully. All right. Then a bit inside. Alrighty. And I think we can already go back over the legs a little, maybe. Can we do that? Nope. That's just spreading it further. Okay, so there's coat number one. That's looking rather snazzy. The dark steel underneath and then the sort of pewter as the rest of it. Like I said, we'll come back and paint copper on the other stuff. So now, excuse me. Now we'll play around with the colors. Actually, that's not a bad horse color either. This right here. Well, so I'm going to take some, well, you know what? I am going to take that, get most of it off the brush, and then brush it onto him and see what we get. We get green. I hate that. So that's not working out very well at all. So instead, yeah, let's get all of that off. I'm going to go ahead and use this big brush with the white just so I don't contaminate. And then again, brush that off as much as possible. A little hard to do on white. And then brush that off. That's brushed it all off. So again, the goal here is not to get white on everything. It is to kind of get this mottled white and gray, which I don't think we're going to achieve. This is not at all working out the way I wanted. I clearly did not brush off enough white, but let's go ahead and continue on. It might be okay. Might end up looking, different. Like an unusual color, but not good, not bad. Just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of a gray-white horse. We'll see. Part of the problem is this is really highlighting the layers of the 3D print. As opposed to kind of modeling in. So just get some paint on the brush, brush most of it off, and then just dab it. And ideally, you'll get stuff. I should point out, it would not be a bad idea for me to paint their hooves a dark gray color. That might be a thing I will do. Gotta see here. Horse hooves. What's the actual color of a horse hoof? I lived with horses, but okay, so it's kind of a dark gray. Yeah, all right. That might be a thing I do. Let's just brush a bunch of this white on here. See what we get. Yeah. I'm not thrilled with this, but it's also just kind of visually interesting. I'll give it that. I wonder what would happen if I laid it on thicker. That might be the solution. If I did more. It might be better if it's sort of a mostly white with slight amounts of gray sort of effect. Yeah, I think I like that better. You didn't see that at all? Sorry? Yeah, that's working. Yeah, there we are. That feels right. Fortunately, we have these sections around the that metal. It doesn't quite feel right, but such is life. And can I get that off? Got some white on the thing. Woo! I just break off. And do some of the under the belly. Yeah, that was the solution. That was the correct instinct to go whiter. Get up in there. Woo. Okay. So there we go. So there's our final paint job on here. So you can see he's now mostly white with some gray spots. But if you get up really close, you can see there's a fair bit of sort of gray mottling. So that's fine. Kind of an interesting switch on that. And so now, yeah, I wanted to do kind of a similar thing. This time we will grab some gray, put it over there. You see that? Yeah. Just gonna grab some of that, put it on the brush, and then kind of brush that on this white horse, just to add some extra detail, that kind of sense that the horse is, not a perfect white. Very rare to get a perfectly white horse. There's going to be some shades of color in there, shades of variation, if you will. And add some visual interest, visual difference. But again, I'm brushing off almost all the paint on my brush, and then adding just these tiny, tiny little bits, just to give it that sense of detail. Underneath. Okay. All right, so there we go. Again, it's just brushed with a little bit of gray. It's a very dry gray. And as you can see, it just makes it a little less of it's a pearly white horse. And it looks a little bit more like a normal horse. There's a little bit of color just brushed in there. Very subtle, but effective. All right, so that's those. So we could go back. I mean, this is still drying. Oh, we can go ahead and add it. So there's our pewter. Pewter's done. This is our gray. There's the white. So I think I can, cheat and throw my bronze onto there, but I do need a brush. So actually, let me grab a smaller brush. I think that'll be good. Yeah, so we wash this out, be right back. So let's do this. There's the bronze. Here's our mini. Ooh, should have done that. That was not dried. Okay. So let's see if we can cover it. Yeah. So that head, especially because we sort of spread a lot of the paint over it, it's almost dried. to add a nice coat of this stuff. Make sure we get it nice and covered. So that'll be the head. Almost thinking of adding some accents onto the head too. Might do that. Like these little protuberances, maybe paint them black or something, just to give it a little sense that there's a little more going on there than meets the eye. Robots in disguise. Get that paint on there. I could also probably use a second coat because of any number of reasons, really. Okay, and then we'll add that final touch of that copper disc on the chest. Yeah. Now, the question is, can I get the edges appropriately? I think I can. Just takes a little bit of carefulness, just kind of pressing the tip of the brush along that edge. It's actually coming together very nicely. I'm shocked, frankly. Just a little bit of color on that edge of that disc all the way around. All right. Yeah. And then we need a little bit more on the bottom of the head where it joins there. It needs a little more color. Okay. Dare I say it? Yeah, I think that'll do it. So there's our metal monster. Like I said, it'll probably need another coat of the pewter on the legs. There we are. I like that a lot, though. That's pretty freaky. I will probably also add some of the rub and buff, just to buff a little bit more on there and give it a slightly more burnished sense. But that's pretty cool. So let's do a quick review. That is him. Here is our GIF. More or less final. Love him. Our little hippo guy. Doesn't want to focus, does it? There we are. There he is. We'll also do some... Oh, let's go ahead and do that. Where's the black? I want to give him eyes. There it is. Very hard to tell where the surface of that is. Okay, there we are. And then we're going to kind of brush everything off and then try to get in very carefully. And then very carefully. Oops. Whoa! That's not very carefully. Hopefully I can brush off pretty much everything. Okay, that's all right. So now he has eyes. That's nice. And he's firing at you. Cool, that's him. Here is one of the centaurs with his brown hair. Here's another one. It's going to have some focus problems. That's okay. That's the one with the slight gray worked in. And two more centaurs, I think. Yeah. Okay, yeah, wow, this is the gray one with the white. I almost couldn't tell it was I thought it was the white one. So that turned out quite well. And here is the guy with the black body. As you can see, the colors, the flesh tones are pretty similar. Like, they don't feel too too different, but different enough, I guess. And here's our little desert assassin guy, who's fairly crude, but enough to be a reasonable mini on the battlefield. All right, that is it for us for tonight. I think we'll be moving on to some more electronics projects and crafting projects in the future. So we'll come back to painting minis probably in a month or so. But thank you all very much for joining me, and until next time, make something.